Hello again. I'm now going to teach you a bit of chemistry. Everything you can see, in fact, even things you can't see like air, is made up of lots of tiny particles called atoms. They're a bit like Lego bricks. There are just a few basic shapes, but by putting them together in lots of different ways, you can make almost anything. Atoms are incredibly small. They are so small that even the world's most powerful microscopes cannot see them, but they are there. The ones that we are interested in are the atoms of carbon and oxygen. They are some of the most important atoms, so a bit like the 8-bump Lego brick and the 4-bump Lego brick. Let's start with carbon. Carbon is usually black. Coal is almost entirely made up of carbon atoms, so we'll use these dark tomatoes to represent carbon atoms. And this tray of tomatoes represents a lump of coal. Now let's think about oxygen. We know this is one of the gases in air. So in air, there are lots of oxygen atoms floating around. Now, oxygen atoms are very friendly. They always go around in pairs. Let's pretend these orange tomatoes are oxygen atoms, and we'll attach two together like this. There we go, one, two oxygen atoms together like this, and they're floating around in the air, representing the oxygen in the air. There we go, there's one oxygen, some oxygen, and another one there. Suppose I start burning this lump of coal. It gets hot, and the heat starts to break apart the atoms of carbon in the coal. At the same time, the heat starts to break apart some of the pairs of oxygen atoms. So once they get broken apart, they can stick together in different ways. So what happens is that one of the carbon atoms gets attached to two oxygen atoms like this. And a new group of atoms, one carbon and two oxygen atoms join together. This is now a particle of carbon dioxide. When atoms stick together in clusters like this group of three, it's called a molecule. So this is a molecule of carbon dioxide. And these new molecules start floating around in the air, and that is how carbon dioxide gets added to the air. Now the name makes it easy to remember. Di is often used to mean two. In fact, the Welsh for two is di. So the word dioxide means two oxygen atoms, and carbon dioxide means one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms. It's also sometimes called CO2. Again, that's just a description of what's in that group of atoms, one C for carbon and two O's for oxygen. So whenever anything that contains carbon atoms burns, and coal, oil and natural gas all contain atoms of carbon, we get carbon dioxide added to the air. Next time, I'll say more about what else there is in air. But in the meantime, you try and find out what other gases there are in air.